Every now and then I like to look back and reacquaint myself with some of the photographers and styles of the past. And I think I do this partly for nostalgic reasons and partly because it's just a fun challenge to try and recreate and remix some of those looks. The other day I brought James and Molly into the studio to help me recreate a couple of looks from the late 1970s. I did a little research for the shoot and I looked at some of the old footage and images from New York Studio 54. I looked at some of the iconic Guy Bourdin images, and I studied a lot of the fashion ads from the late 70s. Here are some of the things that I noticed about the imagery from that time. Disco and fashion seemed to feed off each other. Styles were an interesting mix of conservative and provocative. Underlighting was used a lot, and it's something I often avoid, so I thought that was interesting. Hair light and halo lighting was definitely an in thing. Of course, there's the clothing, the colors, the color blocking, shiny, sparkly elements, and the textures you'll get from film and the magazine printing technology of the 1970s. For this shoot, we went with big hair and bright red lipstick. For wardrobe, we had red metallic pants, a fishnet bodysuit, a sequin top, and a silver metallic dress. Now, I brought in a couple of short rolls of Savage Seamless in the colors Deep Yellow and Blue Jay. Like I said, color blocking showed up a lot in the reference photos, especially in Guy Bourdin's work. And that's something that I don't do a lot of, working with colors as design elements. I just don't normally think in terms of color blocks. So that was another interesting thing that I had to think about as I was setting up some of the shots. My goal for the shoot was to recreate some of the looks as if they were intended for use in ads and promotional pieces. A big emphasis was on the colors and the lighting, and naturally I wanted to capture some of the provocative feel from the 1970s imagery too. I also experimented with the overall look in post so that the images would look less digital and more like film shots as they might appear in actual advertising. I'm going to show you some of the shots we put together and give you an idea of how we created each look. For the first look, we had Molly in the black sequin top and red pants standing in front of the blue and yellow seamless I'd taped together. I liked how these colors all worked together and played off each other, and that includes the blue eyeshadow and the red lipstick. She really got into the character, which helped nail down the mood of these shots. Here's the way the lighting was arranged. Now notice the main light was placed much lower than you might normally expect, which gave us that underlighting I was talking about before. The second light was used on the background so the colors would show up, and I also flagged that background light so that we wouldn't get any hair or rim light in this shot. I had a black backdrop set up on the other side of the studio so we could try some backstage looks. And this is where we really made a point of using hair light and even brought the hair light flash into the shot to emphasize how the lighting was actually part of the atmosphere. Now you can always throw in some additional lighting colors using gels or do what I did here and add them in with the lighting effects filter in Photoshop. We moved back over to the blue and yellow seamless setup to try some floor shots and play with the colors again. Now this time, my second light was aimed at Molly from high and behind to add some rim light and give us a more glossy effect, and it added some nice pop to the shots too. Finally, I propped up a V-flat with a silver reflective surface to get some shiny metal effects behind the metallic fabric dress. I adjusted the colors in Lightroom so that everything would look just a little cooler, more blue and crisp. The contrast was also increased to heighten the effect and to give the images somewhat of a lo-fi look. You know, just like a guitarist covering some old blues or maybe some Jimi Hendrix, for a photographer, experimenting with interesting looks and emulating some of the great work going back a few decades can really expand your range and skill set and maybe even open the doors to some creative discovery. Give it a try. Look back at some older photography that you really admire and see if you can recreate it. Put your personal spin on it at the same time.